And the Sea Will Tell is a true crime book written by Vincent Bugliosi in 1991, focusing on the murders of Malcolm and Eleanor Graham in 1974. Vincent Bugliosi is a two-time winner of the Edgar Allan Poe Award and three-time #1 New York Times hardcover bestseller for Helter Skelter and The Sea Will Tell and Outrage, the 5 Reasons O.J. Simpson Got Away with Murder. Vincent Bugliosi was an American prosecutor and author who served as Deputy District Attorney for the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office between 1964 and 1972. He became best known for successfully prosecuting Charles Manson and the other defendants accused of the Tate LaBianca murders that took place between August 9th and August 10th, 1969. This story is portrayed in his book Helter Skelter. In 1972, Bugliosi left the district attorney's office and started a private practice, which included defense cases for criminal trials. He twice ran for the DA's office but was not elected. He also began his writing career exploring notable criminal cases. I am Teresa, and welcome to the Canvas and Crime Chronicles. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll be alerted every time I upload a new video. And The Sea Will Tell is a true crime book written by Vincent Bugliosi and Bruce Henderson. This nonfiction book recounts an apparent double murder of a couple on Palmyra Atoll in the South Pacific. In 1974, a wealthy couple from San Diego, California, Malcolm Mac Graham III, 43, and Eleanor Laverne Muff Graham, 40, sailed their 38-foot ketch Seawind to Palmyra Atoll, approximately 1,200 miles south of Honolulu. Malcolm and Eleanor Graham were both experienced sailors who decided to embark on a long sailing trip, leaving from California aboard their boat, the Seawind. Their voyage was part of a dream to live a life of adventure. They were hoping to find the island deserted and to spend a year or more there. Instead, they found other sailors already there, including 2 male Canadian scientists, but decided to stay anyway. Malcolm and Eleanor Graham were a married couple living a life of adventure. Malcolm was a successful businessman, described as intelligent, resourceful, and methodical. He had a passion for sailing and exploring remote locations, and he shared these interests with his wife Eleanor. Eleanor, like Malcolm, was adventurous and embraced the nomadic lifestyle that sailing offered them. The couple purchased their boat, the Seawind, a beautiful, well-equipped yacht, and set off from San Diego in the early 1970s with a plan to sail across the Pacific Ocean. Their ultimate goal was to live freely, away from the pressures of their former life, and explore the world's most remote islands. The Grahams' journey took them through various parts of the Pacific before they eventually arrived at Palmyra Island, a deserted atoll about 1,200 miles south of Hawaii. Palmyra had a reputation for being both beautiful and eerie, and many sailors avoided it due to its isolated location and treacherous reefs. The Grahams, however, were drawn to its remoteness, seeing it as the perfect stop on their journey. However, they crossed paths with another couple, Dwayne Buck Walker and Stephanie Stearns, also known as Jennifer Jenkins, who were also on Palmyra Island. The Grahams' lives took a dark turn when they encountered Buck Walker and Stephanie Stearns on Palmyra. Walker was a fugitive on the run for drug offenses and had arrived on the island in a dilapidated boat with Stearns. The two, who had sailed there together from Hawaii on Stearns' sailing vessel Lola, a deteriorating, patched-together wooden sloop that lacked a reliable auxiliary engine. The Lola was grounded on its approach to the atoll and was dug out by visiting ham radio operators. Bugliosi emphasized that Stearns was an inexperienced navigator and that it was remarkable that she managed to find the atoll at all. In contrast, the Grahams' boat, the Seawind, was a beautifully finished and impeccably outfitted boat with an outboard machine shop equipped with all they could possibly need. The Grahams were cautious about the couple, but remained on the island, trying to stay to themselves and focused on themselves. The Grahams were a happily married couple touring the world, and Mr. Graham ran his business remotely, even before remotely was a thing. The Grahams had brought more than a year's supply of food for their voyage. On the contrary, Walker and Stearns quickly consumed their own meager supplies and resorted to harvesting the island's few coconuts, often by chopping down entire trees, leaving scars on the island habitat. As Walker's method of farming became unsustainable, he and Stearns were forced to plan a voyage in the rickety Lola against prevailing winds and currents to Fanning, a nearby atoll in Kiribati, to restock, a voyage close to impossible without a working auxiliary engine. Eventually and unfortunately, the other visitors, aside from the Grahams, left the island, leaving only the two couples on the atoll. Because of this, there's much speculation of how things went between the two couples during their time on the island. Clearly, Buck and Stearns were in over their heads and unprepared. In 1974, Malcolm Graham disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Eleanor was murdered and her remains were later found in a metal box. Despite extensive searches, Malcolm's body was never recovered, and at some point during their stay on the island, Malcolm Graham was murdered. It is believed he was killed either at the same time as Eleanor or shortly after. His body was never found, but later Eleanor's remains were discovered in a metal container washed up on shore. After Malcolm and Eleanor Graham disappeared from Palmyra Island in 1974, no one knew exactly what had happened to them until Buck Walker and Stephanie Stearns was spotted sailing the Seawind in Hawaii. When they arrived in Hawaii aboard the Grahams' yacht, authorities became suspicious because Walker and Stearns had previously arrived on Palmyra in a much smaller, dilapidated boat. Since Walker and Stearns were found in possession of the Seawind, the Grahams' boat, when they returned to Hawaii, it raised suspicions. The Seawind was well known among sailing circles, and it raised alarms that the Grahams were missing. This led to the arrests of Walker and Stearns. Coast Guard and FBI were alerted, and investigators quickly focused on the couple. Walker and Stearns were arrested in Hawaii, but initially only on charges of theft related to the Seawind. At this point, there was no direct evidence of foul play in the deaths of Malcolm and Eleanor, and the case was built largely on circumstantial evidence. Things took a turn in 1981, 7 years later, after the disappearance, when a skull and the other remains belonging to Eleanor Graham were discovered on Palmyra Island. The remains were found inside a metal box, suggesting that Eleanor had been brutally murdered and her body hidden. The discovery of her remains made it clear that the Grahams had met with violence. It became clear to investigators that Malcolm Graham had likely been murdered as well, although his body was never recovered. The skull and the condition of Eleanor's remains pointed to severe trauma, consistent with murder, and helped strengthen the case against Walker and Stearns. The new evidence led to Buck Walker being convicted of Malcolm's murder, while Stephanie Stearns, also known as Jennifer Jenkins, who Bugliosi and Leonard Weinglass had defended, was acquitted of murder, but convicted of the theft of Graham's boat, the Seawind, which she and Walker used to flee the island. The case attracted significant media attention, with the mystery of Malcolm's fate and the brutality of Eleanor's murder making it one of the most notorious true crime stories. The mystery surrounding the Grahams' deaths, especially the lack of conclusive evidence about Malcolm's fate, has made the case one of the most infamous unsolved crimes related to the South Pacific. Buck Walker was eventually charged with the murder of Eleanor Graham. His defense was based on claims that he and Stearns had found the Seawind abandoned and decided to take it. He denied any involvement in the Grahams' death. However, the circumstantial evidence, the Grahams' disappearance, the fact that Walker and Stearns were found in possession of the yacht, and the discovery of Eleanor's remains painted a different picture. Walker's behavior, criminal history, and the suspicious circumstances surrounding his presence on Palmyra Island did not help his case. In 1985, he was convicted of Eleanor Graham's murder and sentenced to life in prison. He maintained his innocence throughout. On the other hand, Stephanie Stearns faced trial for the theft of the Seawind, but was acquitted of murder. She argued that she had no knowledge of Walker's alleged actions and that she was innocent of any wrongdoing beyond the theft of the yacht. While she was convicted of theft, she avoided any direct association with the murder in the eyes of the court. Many believe that Stearns played a more passive role in the events, while Walker was seen as the primary instigator. The trial did not provide full closure on the mystery of Malcolm Graham's fate, since his body was never found. The exact details of how he died remain unknown. Some theorize that he was killed before Eleanor, while others believe he may have been murdered around the same time and disposed of in the ocean. The Palmyra Island murders remain one of the most enduring and mysterious true crime cases from the South Pacific. The isolated location, the eerie atmosphere of Palmyra, and the disappearance of Malcolm Graham all added to the sense of mystery surrounding the case. Buck Walker, also known as Dwayne Buck Walker, died in prison in 2010. He had been serving a life sentence for the murder of Eleanor Graham following his conviction in 1985. After his arrest and trial, Walker was incarcerated in federal prison where he spent the remainder of his life. Walker continued to maintain his innocence in the murders of Malcolm and Eleanor Graham. Thank you for listening to another episode of Canvas and Crime. If there's a story you would like to look into and recap, drop it in the comments. I avoid over-sensationalized serial killers and the overly popular stories. But feel free to offer suggestions, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you will be alerted every time I upload a new video. Thanks for listening and watching.